Hello, people, and yeah, I'm back with The Lady's Choice, which I'm pretty excited about again. And yes, again, it's just me. So, without further ado, let's get into it. I return her smile and she leads me back over to our seats. After an hour more of conversing with people who are more interested in my personal life than in what I'm saying, we finally can return home. The next day, I am pleased to find we have no engagements planned, so I have an opportunity to recover from the last one. I feel that. What is wrong? What is wrong, Arabella? You have not settled for the last hour. Arabella continues to frown as she paces in front of the window. I have forgotten to pick up my orders from the shop. Her frown deepens as she draws to a stop. But my chores are too many to retrieve it, and I cannot ask Johnson as I have sent him out already, and he will not return for hours at least. What am I to do? She throws herself down on the seat, pinching the bridge of her nose. I slowly close my book and set it down on the table. That was a terribly veiled way of asking me to pick up your package. She rolls her head to the side and smiles at me. It is only because I know you know me so well, Victoria. I'm sure to have fooled anyone else. Then tell me what it is I am retrieving and where I am to go to get it. Arabella pulls herself from her seat and places her hands around my shoulder. I could not ask for a better friend, even if I should have had sisters. All right then. It is not far to the jewelry shop. Arabella made her orders with, and I pick up her new brooch with little fuss. I'm sorry, I'm distracted by these flower things. The art here is really pretty. But the warmth of the sun and the unusual quietness of the town slow my steps to a wander. I pass the shops, staring in at the wares, sparkling necklaces, shimmering ribbons, and even a pair of blue satin boots which catch my eye. None are enough to tempt me out of the bright day, though, and I continue on with little thought to my path. We're gonna get lost. It's not till thick shade makes me shiver that I come to my senses, finding myself at an unfamiliar and less than pleasant-looking side of the street. Music got a little bit. There we go. Straightening myself out, I continue forward as best as I can. But as I walk, the people sitting against the edge walls stare at me, some shuffling to their feet with curious and far more inspecting glances than I would care for. Thankfully, few interfere with my path, and I can see familiar buildings at the end of the shadowed street. Well, what a rare thing to see. I quickly come to a stop as a rough-dressed man steps out in front of me, blocking my exit. Excuse me. I try to pass by him, but he moves in front of me once again. No need to be in such a rush. His gaze drops to the package in my hand. I see you're in town for the search of wares. On the search for wares. He grins, a mouthful of blackened teeth revealed behind his cracked lips. It just so happens I have to have some beautiful items that a distinguished woman such as yourself would be interested in. He gestures to the side where a splintered wooden box is placed, a variety of dull necklaces and brooches thrown inside of it. I'm not shopping for me today. Out of my way. I'm afraid none would suit me. Say nothing and walk by. I feel like this is an important one, so we're gonna save. Not shopping for me today. Out of my way. I'm afraid none would suit me. I want to say nothing and walk by. He will probably stop us again. Jeez. Well, I mean we saved, so if it turns out really weird or bad, then we can just go back. Okay. Say nothing. With a frown, I make a step past the man without saying a word, only for him to take a sharp step to block my retreat. Am I not fit enough for you to deign me with a reply, The man's hand snaps out and grips my arm before attempting to drag me over to his box of wares, just to take a closer look. My attempts to struggle free are useless, and just as I'm wondering how much damage my soft shoes would do if I slammed them down on his foot, a familiar voice rips through the alley. Ooh, Stanton. You there! Yo, CG! We both whip our heads around to see Lord Stanton striding towards us. The man's grip on my arm falters as he looks over Stanton's stature and stern expression. Lets us to stare. But he continues to keep a hold on me. The young lady and I were just speaking business, which is none of yours, sir. Stanton gives a stiff smile. The lady already seems to be encumbered with goods. Let us not force more on her, shall we? Though he keeps smiling, Stanton's grip on his cane tightens in warning. The stranger casts his narrowed gaze between us before finally shoving me away. I suppose there are better customers. Indeed, I'm sure there will be. Shall we proceed on, Miss Edwards? I take his arm, hoping he won't notice my fingers trembling slightly, and we walk at a fast pace down the alleyway and into the relief of the main street. When my nerves have settled, I turn to face Stanton, who has a rather casual air considering what just occurred. Thank you for your help. I was quite capable of handling myself, but thanks. You have most impeccable timing, or I'm unsure what I would have done without your intervention. Well, this is just mean, but that one's a little damsel in distressy. I wonder if these actually change things, because I don't remember if she said, or the person who made this actually said anything about whether the decisions really matter. Guess this is safe. You have most impeccable timing, Lord Stanton. I'm most grateful for it. It is not always so, I assure you, though I am glad it was such today. Our gazes seem to be locked for a moment, and it's not until I feel heat rising to my cheeks that I manage to glance away. He clears his throat, a strange silence beginning to fall between us as we walk. Though I know little of fashion these days, I would advise against seeking goods from that street in the future. It was not my intention to find that street. I was picking up a package for Arabella when I found myself wandering farther than intended. Though your advice would suggest that you know that street well. His brows pinch together and he quickly looks away, his arms tensing beneath my hand. But whatever emotion has made him so uneasy, he soon passes as he masks it with a smile. I was simply walking past the alleyway when I heard that man's rather unsavory voice. When I saw you in the shadows, I realized what must be happening, so I made my way to you. Are you often so vigilant about ladies in distress? I give a smile, hoping to lighten the conversation. It is not a usual pastime of mine. But the opportunity to walk with you is too tempting to pass by. Ah, flirty. This time I am unable to hide my blush on the cheeks. Stanton seems surprised by his own bold words and fixes his gaze ahead of us once again. You are quite unlike any lady I have ever met in society, Miss Edwards. Oh, how so? You are a very genial sort of nature that is rare in any I have met before. It is indeed a pleasure to know someone who can be so cordial in so many situations. Also, the fact that you do not seem the least perturbed by walking with me in public says much. You truly seem less concerned with others' opinions and instead forming on your own mind. It is unfair for some people to assume someone's character. I would never have anyone tell me what I should believe. I enjoy being able to find people's faults myself. Listening to the opinions of others can be beneficial. Never let someone tell me what I should believe. I would never have anyone tell me what I should believe. My opinion is mine, and will never be swayed by what others say it should be. I am most glad to hear it, especially as it is such benefit to me. I raise a brow in questioning of his words. Had you taken the views of those around you, I would not be able to enjoy the benefit of your company. Then is it a benefit to me, too? Ooh! I once again find it difficult to look away from his capturing gaze. It's not until the the rattling of a carriage behind us makes me blink, and we both look away from each other. A few moments later, I continue the conversation, realizing it is not long until we reach my house. You speak of society as though you despise it, so why attend events at all? It is not society I dislike, it is just the vile glee they take in bringing down others so quickly and with so little knowledge of truth. Also, my family enjoys the outings, even with being so tarnished in their own reputation for the fact of merely being related to me. If you are so concerned with their well-being, then why participate in such things that would cause them harm? It's difficult to phrase the question, but I can see he understands my meaning by the downturned expression on his face. Some things are not so simple. You should think about their needs more than your habit. Some things are worth more than a bet. Gambling is fun now, but what will it give you in the end? I mean, all of these pretty much mean the same thing. This one's a bit meaner. I guess this one. Some things should be worth more than a bet. He glances away, his brow creasing deeply. Your words hold a truth I have carried for many years. I open my mouth to ask what he means, but then he suddenly draws to a stop. This is your residence, is it not? I wonder for a moment how he would know, until I notice Arabella eagerly peeking through the curtains at the windows. Yes, it is. I have much enjoyed our walk and conversation, Miss Edwards. It's been many years since I have talked so freely with someone outside of my own family. Would you care to come inside for tea, Lord Stanton? It would only be it would only be fair to do so to thank you for your help earlier. For some reason, I feel rather eager to keep his company. I shake away the thought and glance up at him. That is most kind, but I'm afraid that He shifts uneasily on the spot before giving me a smile. I'm afraid I have another pressing engagement. It's then I notice that he is turning something over in his hands. It's a business card, one with the 4-card suit drawn on it. Even after our previous conversation, it is the card tables which are on his mind. Of course, I understand. I pull my hand from his arm and turn to stand before him. Another time, then. Most definitely. His smile falters a little with what I can only guess is shame before he dips in a deep bow and strides off back to the direction we came. I watch him leave, a small pang of disappointment lodging itself in my chest before I also turn and head away. Okay, I think that for whatever reason, because Arabella mentioned that his father also gambled, which could, not be true, but if it is, then I think he's, trying to pay off his father's debts, and, maybe his own, but he's not gambling now, per se. He's just kind of paying off his debts from when he did and when his father did, or something like that, you know? Because I don't see how this could end well if he's truly just interested in gambling still, you know? The moment I enter the drawing room, Arabella nearly pounces upon me. I was truly faint with worry when you were gone so long. I'm sorry to have caused you alarm, Arabella. I move away from her and take a seat calmly, letting her curiosity stew for a moment. It's only a few seconds before she can take it no longer and throws herself onto the seat next to me. Oh, do not be so silent, Victoria. You must know I saw you and Lord Stanton walking together in public. I found myself in trouble and he helped me. We were enjoying each other's conversation, or it was only a walk. Yeah, it's probably this one. We were enjoying each other's conversation, that is all. He is not a scoundrel, Arabella, he's a gentleman. That may be, but still. Her worry soon surrenders to mischief. I must say you certainly did seem to be enjoying his conversation greatly. It was most agreeable. She places a gentle hand on my leg, true concern on her features. You will be careful, though, won't you, Victoria? Enjoying the scandal of others is one thing, but I would not forgive myself if you were to become on the topic of it. The prying eyes of society can be a terrifying thing. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to remind you of your own experience with it. That is past history now, best laid away with my poor Rupert. But even with what everyone said about him, you still proceeded with marriage. I did. It may have been foolish, and sometimes I regret it. Still, I won't forget what we had. When you of all people should be less harsh in your judgments, only because of what others say. But that was my decision. I do not want to see you married or live a life of such uncertainty. You talk as if I am tied to the man, Arabella. It was really only a walk. I know, but sometimes a walk can lead to greater things. She pats my leg and smiles to break the unease of the conversation. Just tell me that you will be careful. I shall be. Then I am pleased. You will be even more so, I imagine, when I give you this. I hand over the package she sent me to get, and her face instantly brightens. I had quite forgotten. She tears open the brown paper, a delicate, glimmering brooch falling out from the shreds. It is not the most dazzling thing you've ever laid your eyes on? I give her a small laugh, and happy to see all of her previous concerns drained away. The next day I have time to myself, though Arabella does not leave me be until I agree upon tenting another get-together that evening. And it's not long before the conversation once again turns to the popular topic of marriage. I must admit I was rather disappointed in the failed engagement. Not because I particularly liked the man, I just had hoped to settle my future. But would it have been such a good idea to settle for someone you didn't even particularly like? I suppose not. There seems to be few eligible men about this year, though. I have heard that Miss Gillespie? I had heard that Mr. Gillespie is on the search for a wife. I would hardly call that stodgy, creepy little man marriage material. I don't know why that's so funny. I would hardly call that stodgy, creepy little man marriage material. It is much different for you, Lady Ashbourne. You are a baroness and are comfortable in your fortune. You still have many of choices of matches, whereas someone in... Oops. I accidentally clicked. Can you go back? Can you go back? Let me save. Make sure I don't accidentally. Oh, okay. You will still have plenty of choices of matches, whereas someone in my position cannot afford to be so choosy. Miss Witter's voice shakes slightly at minutes. Oh. Arabella passes me a saddened glance, obviously feeling a little upset about the girl's situation. But her previous gloom is soon broken by a smile. And what of Lord Whitton? I read her name and then I read Stanton. I was like, Mr. Whitton! And what of Lord Stanton? Arabella almost chokes on her drink at the girl's words, and I can't help but chuckle at the reaction. She shakes her head and pats Miss Witter's arm. I would not take a chance on a man with such a reputation. Miss Witter suddenly leans in a little conspiratorially, and we do the same. I hear some lady is taking the chance on him, though. What do you mean? What have you heard? The questions pour from my lips in a flustered mass. They both glance at me in confusion of my sudden flurried outburst, so I clear my throat and smile. I am merely curious. My aunt saw him walking with a woman yesterday down the street. The lady had apparently linked her arm with his quite openly. It suddenly becomes obvious who that woman was, remembering my stroll back home with Lord Stanton the day before. Arabella's gaze glanced to meet mine, but I quickly glanced away. Did your aunt take notice of the lady? Miss Witter shakes her head. She could not tell who the lady... she could not tell the lady as my as my aunt could only see them from behind, though she could not mistake Lord Stanton. He is one of the most handsome men in town, after all. Yes, he certainly is that. A nudge from Arabella's elbow curbs my spreading smile. If I had a little more courage, I am sure I would pursue such a match myself. The man does not deserve such attention from respectable young women. Though she speaks to Miss Witter, I cannot help the feeling she is directing her words to me. What kind of fortune would you have with a man who is so willing to throw his fortune away? Gambling is a disease that has taken many a young man, and marriage has never been a cure for it. I can't help but glance away, a frown pinching my brows. We don't really know him enough to make that assumption. We shouldn't speak of him like this. We have our own foibles. Let him have his. Or ... You were right. Let's say this. I do not think that we know Lord Stanton enough to make such assumptions of him. Maybe not. She gives a worried frown and lets out a small sigh. But why should Stanton be different from any other person who has succumbed to the evils of that gambling house? I straighten my expression, unsure how to reply. There's an understandable lull in the conversation due to the heavy topic. Miss Witter shuffles on the edge of her seat, apparently not understanding the true meaning of the previous words between me and Arabella. Look here, it's Miss Huxley. Oh, I had not seen her in town for years. We must inquire how her children are before she joins us in the dancing. They stand to leave, and Arabella looks back at me with a smile. Will you come, Victoria? I shall join you soon. Of course, come when you are ready. The two of them shuffle off through the crowds to meet the other young woman. Bright smiles on their faces once again. I remain in my seat, a sudden flurry of thoughts swirling in my head. I could not deny the surprise at myself for feeling the need to defend Stanton. What right have I to say anything of him when I know him so little? Arabella may be right in her assumption of his character. He did leave the day before to go to the gambling house, so why should I try and deny it? Oh, would you stop thinking about it already? I let out an angered sigh at my own thoughts. Such heavy thoughts are better shared. I gasped a little at the sudden voice and turned my head to find Stanton stood behind my chair. Hello, friend! Okay, I'm gonna cut this off to here. But, yeah, Stanton. Alright, make sure you guys check out the game in the description, because this is really fun, especially if you guys aren't wanting to go for Stanton, which I like him, but I'm not really connecting with him or any of the other characters. I don't know. Anyway, bye!